everyone, I'm back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about how to get an A in A&P. So let's get into it. So anatomy and physiology is a prereq that I know a lot of people struggle with just because it's just so much information. I thought, so I was super excited to really get into it. I was like, oh, I'm finally learning about like things that will pertain to nursing, and I am so excited to learn about the body and the reproductive system and things of that nature. But it wasn't as smooth sailing as I thought it would be. It was actually really hard, and I had to early on establish study tips in order for me to secure the A. So today I will be talking about how can you get an A in A&P, or even just reach that grade that you need for your prerequisite for nursing school. So let's get into it. So this is my notebook that I use for anatomy, and I'm gonna be showing y'all how I organize my notes. So this is super important just because this is how you study. So I think I talked about this a little bit in my microbiome video, how I record lectures, and that's definitely what I did in anatomy. So I recorded my lectures, and that really allowed me to focus and take down like key things that she was saying and not just rush write everything on the slide. And I specifically did this for this professor because she would like drop gems left and right. Okay, like this is how you can remember this. This is how you can remember this for exams, which was super helpful. And just because it's so much information, if you did not record the lectures, like you would not remember it. This is my notebook. I will insert a picture over here just so y'all can see it a little bit closer, but this is how I took my notes. So you see the slide here, a slide here, and then these are the notes. At the top I have chapter 12 and the notes on the side, and so basically the notes were from like what she was saying. So if it was already on the slide, I would like tie back into that, or I would explain things. So I have like peri means middle. I have fascicles, also known as bundles. Endo means, muscle fiber, muscle cell. So different things like that. Oh, here's a really good page. So this page is, you see a whole bunch of highlights, and you really see me, writing on the slide, just because that's how she did it in class. And I would also take pictures of like her drawing on the slides just so I can duplicate and replicate everything that she's doing on my notes. And this is super helpful because after you record lectures and you're writing down your notes, this is like another way you can remember things. So recording your notes is super helpful because it helps you remember things. You've heard it once, and then you're going to hear it again, and then you're writing it down. Repetition is very helpful for me, and I think that it's super helpful in courses like microbiome and especially A&P because it's very information heavy and you need to remember it some way somehow. So if you listen to it like 4 or 5 times, then you are bound to remember it. So I would definitely do this over the course of a week. Like, so if I'm preparing for an exam and my professor gives me a study guide and it's different questions of what's going to be on the exam, I would basically listen to all of my lectures throughout the week and just take down notes specific to what's on the study guide. And this again is another way that would help me remember, just because that's me listening to the recording again, writing it down again. It's just more and more repetition. Another source that I used was this anatomy book, and it's 30-second anatomy. It was only $9.98 from Barnes & Noble. I'm sure you can find it for cheaper, but it's super affordable. And if you don't, have the money to go spend on this, they have different resources like this online, on YouTube. There's, supplemental videos, things of that nature. And so I use this as a guide. For the contents, they have the skeletal system, muscular system, the cardiovascular and respiratory systems, digestive system, sensory and speech organs, endocrine and nervous system, and the reproductive system. So it's a lot of information that they provide, which is great. I'm gonna see if I can try to find a page. So this was super helpful because if you can see, like, I don't know if yeah, so if you can see, like, they have different things labeled, which is really great when you're, you know, taking anatomy, because some professors will have quizzes like, okay, label this bone, label this bone, label this bone, or you might just need to know in an exam, like, how does this bone work and how does this bone interact with this bone. So it was very helpful because, you know, it not only labeled it, but it had like explanations, and so if I really didn't understand, I would go to this book and use it as a resource. Other things I would say for anatomy and phys is just to practice. Like, it is just so heavy with information that I can't say that enough. And when I spoke about my microbiome class, I was saying, like, I studied every day. This is the same thing. You have to study every day for this. So I did an interview with one of my Spelman sisters, and she was asking me, like, what advice would you give to pre-nursing students? And I said, do not just take the class to get an A and just get out, because you will need to know this information for nursing school, especially my pre-nursing students who do not come from a science background and are going into accelerated bachelor's programs or accelerated master's programs. Like, you have to know this information. And so right now I'm going through all of my anatomy part 1 and anatomy part 2 notes, looking through this book, watching videos, just to, you know, kind of jog my brain, because I've taken these prerequisites a couple years back. And so when I get to nursing school, they're not about to sit here and try to jog my memory, because I should have already, you know, been really familiar with this information. Okay, so I know in my microbiome video I said absolutely do not use Quizlet. Always, you know, write out your flashcards for microbiome. But for anatomy, I really suggest using Quizlet. Now, Quizlet was so helpful with anatomy because, like, specific questions from my exams were on Quizlet. Like, thank you, hallelujah, okay? I was so happy just because, you know, I was practicing with those questions, and then to see those questions on the exam, I was like, yes, circle, yes, circle, yes, circle. You know what I'm saying? Like, I automatically knew that I had those questions correct. Potentially find the questions that might be on your exam. I suggest searching questions from the textbook that you're using. My professor was super upfront with us, and she was like, you know, we never use the textbook, so don't buy the textbook, you know, just study the slides that I give you. So based off the slides that she gave me, you know, it usually always has like the manufacturer and the name. So I would type in that name and, you know, anatomy part 1, whatever chapter you're studying, and then a whole list of like questions or flashcards pertaining to that chapter would pop up. And so I would study. Now, you know, the chances of them actually being on your exam, I don't want to say that they're slim, but, you know, it really just depends. But it happened to me a couple times where I saw the questions from Quizlet on my exam. So that is another study tip. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, comment below, and see you next time.